I found out my wife had secretly booked a romantic weekend with her boss when the hotel receptionist smiled, handed me the reservation details by mistake, and welcomed me as if I was supposed to be part of their getaway. That single moment shattered everything I believed about my marriage. My name is Daniel Brooks, and until that afternoon I thought I had one of the strongest marriages in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was 34 years old and worked as a project manager for a construction company. My wife, Lauren, was a marketing executive for a large technology firm. We had been married for 7 years and shared a quiet suburban home with our golden retriever, Cooper. We did not have children yet because we wanted to focus on our careers before starting a family. Lauren had always been ambitious. I admired how hard she worked and how confidently she handled every challenge. Whenever she stayed late at the office, I never questioned her. I trusted her completely because she had always told me that honesty was the foundation of our relationship. At least that was what I believed. Over the past few months, little things started changing. Lauren guarded her phone more carefully than ever. She laughed at messages without explaining them and began dressing differently for work. When I complimented her new outfits, she simply smiled and said, "Marketing is competitive. Looking professional matters." I accepted the explanation without another thought. One Friday evening she told me her company had scheduled an important leadership retreat for the following weekend. "It is mandatory," she said while avoiding eye contact. "Only senior staff are invited." I nodded. "That sounds like a great opportunity." She thanked me for understanding, but something about her smile felt forced. The next morning my co-worker Jason invited me to spend the weekend fishing at Lake Norman. I almost agreed before remembering Lauren's work trip. "I should stay home," I said. "She will probably be exhausted when she gets back." Jason laughed. "You are a better husband than I am." I smiled, but deep inside I had no idea that by the following weekend every promise my wife had ever made would begin falling apart. The following week Lauren packed a small suitcase before leaving early Saturday morning. She kissed my cheek and said, "I will probably have poor phone service, so do not worry if I cannot answer right away." I smiled. "Have a good trip. I am proud of you." She thanked me and drove away. An hour later I realized she had accidentally packed my portable phone charger. I called her, but the call went straight to voicemail. Thinking I would surprise her, I decided to drive to her office since that was where the company shuttle was supposed to leave. When I arrived, the parking lot was almost empty. The security guard recognized me because I had picked Lauren up from work several times before. "Looking for Lauren?" he asked. "Yeah, I need to give her something before they leave for the retreat." He looked confused. "What retreat?" "My wife's company leadership retreat." He slowly shook his head. "I have not heard anything about one. Most employees are off this weekend." A strange feeling settled in my stomach. Maybe the shuttle had already left. Maybe he simply did not know. I tried convincing myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. As I walked back toward my truck, Lauren's co-worker Melissa happened to arrive. She smiled politely. "Daniel. I thought Lauren would be with you today." I forced a smile. "I thought she was with the team." Melissa frowned. "What team?" I felt my heart beating faster. "Never mind. I probably misunderstood." I drove away before she could ask more questions. For the next hour I kept replaying every conversation Lauren and I had shared over the past few months. Every late meeting. Every cancelled dinner. Every weekend conference. Every excuse. Nothing made sense anymore. Instead of driving home, I stopped for coffee to clear my head. While waiting in line, my phone buzzed with a notification from our joint credit card account. Normally I ignored purchase alerts. This one caught my attention immediately. A luxury hotel had charged almost $900. The reservation had been made only minutes earlier. The hotel was less than 40 miles away. I stared at the screen. If Lauren was attending a company retreat, why would she use our personal credit card to pay for an expensive hotel? I drove there without knowing exactly what I hoped to find. Inside the elegant lobby, I walked to the reception desk. "Good afternoon," the receptionist said with a warm smile. "Checking in." I hesitated before answering. "I think there may be a mistake on my credit card." She searched the reservation and smiled again. "Oh, I found it. Mr. Daniel Brooks. Your wife already checked in earlier today. She requested the Lakeview suite." My mouth went dry. The receptionist continued speaking without realizing what she had just revealed. "And her second guest should be arriving soon." At that exact moment, the hotel entrance opened. I turned slowly. Lauren walked inside laughing. Standing beside her was a man I had never seen before. He placed his hand gently on the small of her back as they walked toward the front desk together. Lauren froze the moment our eyes met. The smile disappeared from her face. The man beside her looked back and forth between us before quietly asking, "Lauren, who is he?" She swallowed hard. "My husband." For a few seconds nobody moved. The receptionist looked completely confused and slowly stepped away from the desk. I stared at Lauren. "You told me this was a leadership retreat." She took a nervous step toward me. "Daniel, please let me explain." I looked at the man beside her. "And you are?" He extended his hand awkwardly. "My name is Eric. I am Lauren's regional director." I ignored his hand. "So you are the boss?" Neither of them answered. The silence told me everything. Lauren finally whispered, "Can we talk somewhere private?" I shook my head. "No. You have lied to me for months. You can tell the truth right here." Eric cleared his throat. "I think I should go." Lauren grabbed his arm. "No. Please stay." That single action hurt more than anything she could have said. She had chosen his side without even thinking. I looked directly at her. "How long?" She closed her eyes. "About 4 months. 4 months. 4 months of lies. 4 months of fake meetings. 4 months of pretending our marriage was perfectly normal." I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. "Were you ever planning to tell me?" Tears filled her eyes. I did not know how. "So your plan was to spend a romantic weekend with him while I sat at home believing you were working?" She could not answer. Eric finally spoke. "I never wanted to hurt anyone." I laughed bitterly. "You are standing in a hotel with another man's wife. Do not pretend you are the victim." Several people in the lobby had stopped to watch. Lauren looked embarrassed. "Please, Daniel. Let's go home." I took one slow breath. "Home? You already left our marriage the moment you booked this room." Without saying another word, I walked out of the hotel. My hands were shaking so badly that I had to sit inside my truck for nearly 20 minutes before I could drive. When I finally got home, I packed a small bag and went to stay with my older brother, Michael. After hearing everything, he remained quiet for a long time. Finally he said, "Maybe it was just a mistake." I stared at him. "A mistake? You know what I mean." Couples go through rough patches. I could not believe what I was hearing. She cheated on me. I am not defending her. I am just saying you should not throw away 7 years without thinking. His words made me feel even more alone. The next morning Lauren called more than 20 times. I ignored every call. Then she sent one final message. I ended everything with Eric. Please come home. We can fix this. I read the message several times. For the first time since discovering the truth, I realized I had a choice. I could spend the rest of my life wondering if I would ever trust her again. Or I could finally choose myself. I met with a divorce attorney the following week. She carefully reviewed everything, including the hotel reservation, the credit card charges, and the messages Lauren had sent after I left. She looked at me and said, "Trust is not something the court can restore. Only you can decide whether it still exists." I already knew the answer. When I returned home to collect the rest of my belongings, Lauren was waiting in the living room. She looked exhausted. "I made the biggest mistake of my life," she said quietly. I nodded. "I believe you." Hope briefly appeared in her eyes. Then I continued. "But believing you regret it is not the same as believing I can trust you again." She started crying. "I ended things with Eric. I chose you." I looked around the house we had built together. "No, Lauren. You chose me only after your secret was exposed." She lowered her head because she knew it was true. The divorce was finalized several months later. It was painful, but it was peaceful. We divided everything fairly and walked away without another courtroom fight. A year later I found myself smiling again. I had rebuilt my life, reconnected with old friends, and finally understood something I had ignored for far too long. Real love does not hide behind fake business trips or secret hotel reservations. The day I found my wife at that hotel, I thought I had lost everything that mattered. Looking back now, I realize I lost a lie and found the truth. Sometimes the hardest betrayal becomes the first step toward the life you were always meant to live.